out previously. For those of you who did not receive a copy of the case study, just let us know and we'll send you one. But the purpose of this call today is talk about that warehouse journey and also the deployment options and decisions we made, our implementation methodology, as well as how we structured the delivery of it. But first, let's talk a little bit about mindset. So if we can move to the next slide. So Mindset is a Minneapolis-based SAP partner. We grow very quickly. We double every year. Essentially what we do is we focus in on the user experience of solutions, specifically around supply chain management, EWM, transportation management, as well as other functional areas. But our primary focus is really helping enterprise users, especially SAP users, migrate away from kind of the clunky SAP GUI approach to workflow to almost a consumer-grade iOS type Fiori-driven workflow. So that's a little bit about Mindset based up here in the Twin Cities. And with that, before we dig too deeply into the use case today, let Stephanie Weiss go over a little bit about the landscape of warehouse management options for SAP users before we dig right into the case study. Stephanie?
Thank you, Peter, for that intro. Standard WM was initially introduced in 1992 and has been widely adopted with over 7,000 plus customers worldwide. In 2002, SAP partnered with CAT Logistics and Ford Corporation to develop a new warehouse solution specific to the service part management industry. This solution that they built eventually evolved into what we know as EWM, which was released in 2005 and was offered as a distributed option only, so as not to impact the already 7,000 plus customers that were using the standard WM solution. Over the course of the past 15 years, EWM has evolved into a best-of-breed WMS system that can compete with more traditional solutions like Manhattan and Red Prairie. Out of the box, EWM incorporates all of the core ERP WM functionality, plus more advanced and robust features that can support higher volumes, more complex business processes such as slotting and rearrangement, kitting, value-added services. It also offers tighter integration to TRM, quality management module, yard management, and external automation systems like material flow systems and PLCs. With the release of S/4HANA 1610, EWM was offered as an embedded application component, meaning you no longer have to replicate business partners or master data or transactional documents through SIF, which simplifies your IT landscape significantly. However, a decentralized deployment is also available in S4 if business requirements dictate that you need 24/7 capability, even when your ERP system is down. If you need to connect to multiple ERP systems to your EWM system, or if you need the capability to upgrade your ERP and your EWM systems separately. Next slide, please. When evaluating the various WM options in SAP, you have to consider some of the various pros and cons. Standard WM is a proven workhorse. It's very simple and it's easy to train and support. However, it is in maintenance mode, so SAP will continue to support standard WM, but all new functionality and development will actually occur in EWM, which is their path forward. EWM provides advanced warehouse functionality, such as inbuilt analytics and tighter integration to other SAP modules, but it requires a longer implementation time and is definitely harder to train and support. Distributed EWM has a lot of the same benefits of embedded EWM, but one thing to note is that some of the embedded functionality is not available in a decentralized environment. SAP gives you the option to have different deployment strategies for different warehouses at the same time. So depending on your current and future business requirements and processes, your landscape and infrastructure, your future acquisitions, growth and expansion plans, it's actually possible to have some warehouses within your environment running on embedded EWM, Some can run on standard WM, and then others can run on a decentralized EWM server. So this really gives you the flexibility to choose an appropriate deployment option for your needs. Before I turn it over to Naveen, are there any questions?
Doesn't look like there are any yet at this time, but we will be checking. Thanks for that.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for that, Stephanie. That was a great pitch out there for the EWM WM comparison. One thing that always interests me and piques my interest is with the evolution of computation power, how SAP has evolved the product maturity from WM into a distributed EWM and then into embedded in S4, again distributed in S4. So there are so many options to choose from, right? And that is a perfect segue into this slide where we talk about how we develop a methodology, and in this particular project, how we used our methodology to create the distributed EWM solution. So our methodology in this project was a 5-step process, which starts with discovery, where we try to understand the solution capability, discuss with the business, and show the value addition this product, the EWM, can bring to their current existing business process. Once we were able to show that value addition and craft a roadmap and strategy, and then we were getting into the preparation mode. In the preparation mode, this is where we spoke about how we do the program planning, what is a team onboarding, what is a governance mechanism, what sort of scenarios should we tackle first, and what is the value addition for the business, solution, environments for demo, and things like that. Once we have established our program, our buy-in from the business was very clear, and then we moved into the phase of exploration. So this is where we conducted a lot of fit gap analysis in coordination with our business counterparts. And then we essentially crafted out all the value-driven use cases. So we created a backlog saying, okay, these are the use cases which bring you the highest return on investment, and then presented that to the business program sponsors. And they were able to quickly take this backlog, relate it with their business transaction model, and quickly realize the return on investment. At that point, it created a level of comfort zone in their mind in order to invest in this capability, because currently they were in WM and they were moving into a distributed EWM landscape. Once the exploration phase was completed, we went into a realization phase where we had defined time-boxed iterations called sprints. Our inspiration for the methodology is from SAP Activate, using agile methodology and project management book of knowledge. So in these sprints, essentially we would come at the beginning of the sprint and say, hey, this is what we are going to work on for the next 2 weeks. And at the end of the sprint, we would knock them out of the parking lot and then demonstrate that to the business users. While turning this very quickly from a conceptual phase into a design and into a build, the business users were able to essentially see an outcome at the end of every 2 weeks, whether it's a simple configuration in inbound or whether it's an RF screen. That created a level of excitement and also confidence in the user community. And then when we went into the final stage of deployment, it was an easy transitioning because the people have already seen the maturity in the system. They were playing around with test scenarios in the demo environment. And finally, when the time came for switching on the light bulb, the overall transition was pretty smooth and easy. And then dovetailing into some of the roles and responsibilities on how we collaborated within this project with our customer business users. It is a very tight collaboration where we worked in a hand-in-glove methodology at multiple layers. And for those of you who are thinking about doing this program in your organization, this slide is a good takeaway where you understand how you can structure it. And in this project, we have multiple teams, and each team had a defined role. For example, in the project management space, the customer was expected to be part of the project planning, drive it, and create a governance board and put yardsticks for measuring our results. And we were responsible for the success criteria. We established a success criteria in collaboration with the customer. We provided weekly updates and said, okay, this is how many user stories we have completed. This is our progress on each level. And we were constantly measured throughout the process. So that created a level of confidence within the user community in this project. Another example is our DBT team. The DBT team was participating in the solutioning, where we would talk about solution, defining the backlog, actually building the configuration and all of that, whereas the customers are part of backlog prioritization. So working in this manner, what we were able to provide is an opportunity for the businesses to prioritize their warehouse operations and tell us, okay, inbound is priority or outbound, or this RF screen for kitting is priority or cycle count. So things like that. Again, there's a lot of opportunity for people who are trying to onboard this journey to take this particular use case as a reference and replicate that within your organizations.
So Naveen, this is Peter. Just if you could go back real quickly, that slide. Thanks for breaking it out this way. What in the bottom right, what is PGLS?
Yeah, that's a good point. So PGLS is an acronym for post-go-live support. And a little bit of storytelling here. When we went live with this project, the post-go-live was for 6 weeks. And we have established certain yardsticks and metrics. And we came way below that. And we were able to show that the total incident count and everything was way less. So that is how we were able to make an early exit. And projects of this scale, usually that doesn't happen. So thanks for that question, Peter.
No, thank you, Naveen. And just a reminder to everybody to use the Q&A box at the bottom if you have questions like that. We do have a few in now, and hopefully we can get a few more here before the conclusion of the webinar. Thanks, Naveen.
Yeah, thank you. So a couple of little nuggets on how we have worked within this project. So in this project, we essentially had the following team structure where there was a mindset program manager who was the single person accountable for the overall success of the program. And he was responsible for the budgets, governance, and all of that. So the program manager would work internally with your business sponsors and your IT program project managers and make sure things are moving in a smooth fashion. And he operates at a strategic level. And then on the delivery side, we have the product owner who is responsible for creating the product backlog. He will plays the role of a customer internal to the team, and he makes sure that there's a prioritized backlog, there's a quantified backlog, and there's a acceptance criteria defined for the backlog. And then we have Scrum Master, who is essentially playing the role of a servant leader and making sure that the team is able to move forward without any roadblocks, and they are getting all their dependencies resolved on time. And then the key role in this project for us was the integration manager. This was the guy who was actually pulling strings behind the screens and making sure everything was getting connected. In this particular role, the person is expected to be that liaison between multiple work streams to make sure the decision that is taken on one work stream does not impact the others. An example in this project was the configuration in inbound. We had to make sure that all the way it goes to downstream into the carousel system and everything should be working well. So things like that, integration manager comes into play. And then on the build side is your traditional design and build teams. Again, we work in agile fashion in this project. So we had multiple teams running in parallel. Each team was assigned to a track, for example, inbound, outbound, STO scenario, RF screens development, production staging, conception. So each of this track was headed by a track lead. The track lead was a techno-functional person in this use case, and the track lead had other functional people and other developers who were reporting to him and who were able to bring the solution together. Between all the tracks, we were able to knock off this project very quickly. So this is the team structure that we have leveraged in this project, and has been very helpful for us to scale as well. And a quick example on that, when there were more user stories, more requests coming from the business community, we were able to quickly assign and prioritize based on the tracks. And once one track was finished, we were able to take that capacity and divert it to the other track. So that provides a lot of synergy and ability to scale for us. So I think we covered a couple of topics on a high level. We spoke about EWM, WM, S4, and there's so many options to choose from, and our methodology in this particular use case on how and what we have accomplished. And the question is how we as team mindset could help you. We bring about a strong community of 4,800 people. Our talent community is fully vetted by our internal resources. We have people in multiple skill sets within your EWM and within your enterprise landscape who can help you with your projects, both the short-term and long-term needs. On the other hand, we also have our internal in-house workforce Together, we bring about 500 plus years of cumulative enterprise expertise. Uh, this group of people have deployed global ERP projects, EWM, TM, and they have been working with Fortune 100 companies. And this particular project is for actually Fortune 10 companies in the United States. And then most of our consultants are on platinum level. That's again a quick validation on the level of quality and maturity that we bring into the system. We do help in a wide array of services, starting from your solution assessment, in fact, your pre-assessment phase, where we try to identify whether the product is of value for you or not, and which product you have to use, whether that's a WM, EWM, or S4 embedded. We essentially provide all the recommendations based on your system landscape, business use case, budget, and all of that. Our team is also actively involved in the fit gap analysis, solution creation, and finally the design and build phases. Our ability to scale is accompanied by our offshore delivery model, where we try to provide round-the-clock support and delivery services. In that way, we're trying to meet the demands of the global, distributed warehouses. And we also encourage leaders who are embarking this EWM journey within their organizations to think about, once you have the solution, what is the next increase in your operationalization? The best segue to that is using ITS Mobile and enabling some of your warehouse devices to be mobile enabled so that they can use Fiori and other advanced user experiences. We have seen that simplistic process like cycle count, when they are being performed by Fiori application, there is a significant adoption within the warehouse operators in using Fiori, and their experience in interacting and day-to-day interaction with the software has increased. So these are some of the nuggets that you would like to think about on how we could collaborate and help you as you embark your EWM journey. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Peter.
Yeah, thanks, Naveen. Let's see. We do have some questions if you want to go to the next slide too, but we do have some questions. It looks like some would be good for you and a couple here that are good for Stephanie. The first question, it's also a reminder to me that there is a case study on this specific EWM implementation that's available. It has a lot of the answers to some of these questions embedded in it. But the first question, Naveen, I think is good for you. Were there RF scanners used in this deployment?
Yeah, there were RF scanners used in this deployment, and were other devices. When we came to the warehouse, there was a question like, hey, we are going to EWM, we like it. Can you advise us on our device strategy? So this is not uncommon. Every warehouse manager is curious to use the latest and greatest devices for his workforce. So we also conducted a device strategy analysis, and we made sure that we are proposing the best solutions. In this particular case, there are two devices that were used. One was a Zebra TC70, and the other was a hard-mounted device, Motorola device, which was assigned to the forklifts. The choice of device is again dependent on a number of dynamics, and we always help the customers in identifying what is the optimum device strategy for that. Thank you, Peter. Over to you.
Okay. Thanks, Naveen. That was good to know. I think this next question would be better for Stephanie. Stephanie, what's the advantage of embedded EWM versus a distributed EWM solution?
That's a great question. So the advantage of an embedded solution is that it simplifies your IT landscape significantly, which then in turn reduces your total cost of ownership. With an embedded solution, there's seamless integration. And I think one of the key advantages or benefits of an embedded solution is the reduction of data duplication. So you no longer have to sift master data, business partners, or transactional data back and forth between your ERP system and your EWM system.
Okay, thanks for that. And if anyone has specific questions on embedded versus distributed for your environment, just let us know after the call, and we can set up a short call on that. Naveen, I think this next one is for you. I don't think we talked about design thinking, but the question is, did you use design thinking at the beginning of the project?
Yes, we did. Thanks for actually asking that question. So one of the things that has helped us to considerably reduce our time spent in the fit gap analysis is our unique approach of using design thinking. Within this project, we had this opportunity of talking to our end users, bringing in the functional IT experts, everybody into a single room. And then we were talking about, okay, what is the problem statement? What is our approach? And what is the end future state we want to reach to? So using design thinking, we not only solve the traditional ERP, EWM integration, and EWM solution problems, but we are also able to ideate out of the box, and it actually led to creation of certain theory applications. So that energy and the design thinking really helped the group to actually anchor on a solution and move forward really quick. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you. Someone was taking notes on your expressions, Naveen. You said you knocked it off fairly quickly, or knocked it out fairly quickly. How long did this EWM implementation take, Naveen?
Yeah, so when we look at EWM implementations, just like any other ERP implementation, they're like small, medium, large. It all depends upon the transactions in the warehouse and the complexity of your warehouse layouts and bin sectioning. So this was a kind of a complex, setup where we are working in multiple warehouses in multiple countries. Actually, this was a global project, and then each of them had their own preference in bin sectioning, warehouse layouts. They had integration with automated carousel systems. So there is a lot of complexity at multiple levels. A project of this size usually takes about 14 to 16 months in general, but we were able to knock it off very quickly by using our design thinking approach. And I can actually give a little more spill into each phase. So the assessment phase was about 1 month, where that's the design thinking, where all of us came together and did that ideation. And then we explored a little deeper into the design part of it, like what configuration, everything has to be done. That was 2.5 to 3 months. And then the build was 3.5 months, sorry. And the post go live was for 6 weeks. So all in all, maybe we kind of, from the beginning to the end, it was like 7 to 8 month journey. Again, keep in mind, we were looking at multiple warehouses in multiple countries, and that includes a lot of people in the room, a lot of ideation, conversations. So we were able to actually cut it down by 40 to 45%.
Yeah, that's terrific. And in the use case we shared prior to this call, I think we outlined the number of warehouses, but how many specific warehouses were covered with this implementation?
So there were 5 warehouses that were covered in this particular implementation, and these are huge transactional warehouses. There's a lot of goods movement happening, a lot of trucks in and out on a daily basis. So the volume of transactions was significantly high.
Okay, thank you. So I've got one question here, I guess, Naveen, well, actually, let's do this with Stephanie. Stephanie, what's a big gotcha in your experience that either causes the EWM project to be delayed or delivered over budget?
Good question. I think one of the key gotchas is not having the right business people involved from the get-go. I'm specifically referring to like warehouse managers, warehouse super users, the people that really know the business processes in and out, the people that really know and understand the issues, the pain points, and really the current workarounds that they're doing to circumvent the system because it doesn't function the way they actually do their business processes. So having those people involved during the design thinking sessions and part of at the very beginning really helps the project and really kind of prevents reworking later on down the line.
Good. Thanks for answering that. I was thinking it'd be something else, but that's a really good point about the business folks being involved early on. I think that's it for the questions. Amy, do you want to keep it open for a couple more minutes for questions, or how would you like to proceed?
Well, we're getting close to the end. I was just double checking, and yep, it does look like you got every single question answered, and so yeah, I think we are good, and our time is just about up today. I guess if anybody ends up having any additional questions, or if you're interested in receiving the recording of today's webinar, please reach out. Also, if you're interested in scheduling some time to talk with any member of our team on regarding any EWM projects you have in mind, don't hesitate. And so with that, I think we'll end it right there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.